Okay. Um, Guys, fans of the Pima Air and Space Museum, I'd like to welcome Colonel Alex Wright. He is the executive director of the 390th Memorial Museum. He just became the executive director not too long ago. So welcome, Colonel Wright. How are you today?
Thanks, Dan. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am wonderful. It's great to have you here. Great to
Thank
see you again.
Good to see you.
You're looking younger, as they say.
Oh boy, I sure feel it.
Well, Colonel Wright, the reason I call you by your military rank is because you've earned that rank, and it's just out of respect. So, Colonel, tell us what you do at the museum.
I'm the executive director. I'm in charge of the 390th Memorial Museum. I have been the director for over a year and a half now. Prior to that, for the 5 years prior to that, I was a docent. I went out and volunteered my time to tell the story of the 390th Bomb Group in World War II, 1 or 2 days a week. I really enjoyed that. Very much enjoyed interacting with all of the visitors that came to the museum, telling them the story. We're unique in that we are a single story museum. We tell just one story, and that story is the combat experience of the 390th Bomb Group from August the 12th, 1943 to April the 20th, 1945.
Right.
During that time, the 390th Bomb Group flew 301 combat missions in the B-17. It lost to combat 176 airplanes. 673 of its aircrew members were killed in action, and 731 of them were taken prisoner of war when they were shot down. If you do the math, with 10 people on an airplane, that comes to 1,760 people. That means that only about 300 of the people that were shot down managed to escape and get back to Great Britain. They were stationed at a place in East Anglia called Framlingham, and they were there for a total of 2 years. 20 months of that 2 years was flying combat against Nazi Germany.
Right.
I said we were a single story museum because we only tell one story. We're also unique in the sense that, as far as we can find, we're the only museum like us in the world that tells that single story and has a World War II artifact in its museum. And that, sorry about that. And that artifact, that World War II artifact, is the airplane you see in the background.
That's the aircraft. That's my background, guys. For the 390th Memorial Museum, it's the I'll be around. It's Can you tell us a little bit of the background of that aircraft?
Absolutely. That particular airplane was built by the Lockheed Vega Company. It came off the assembly line in July of 1945. It did not see combat. The war in Europe was over. The Air Force had enough assets to prosecute the war in the Pacific. And it was transferred to the Navy. The Navy then transferred it to the Coast Guard, where it flew for the Coast Guard in the air-to-sea rescue and mapping roles for the next 15 years.
Right.
It flew until 1959. When in 1959, it was retired and sold at auction to a private aviation company that turned it into a firebomber. The firebomber that airplane flew as a firebomber for the next 20 years. The airplane retired in 1979, retired for good. The Air Force regained title to it in 1979 and leased it to the Muller Foundation, who started the 390th Memorial Museum. The airplane has been in our possession since 1980, when it flew into Davis-Monthan. We turned it back into a war machine. We had to add all of the turrets back. We had to redo the bomb bay, put its stuff back into it to make it a B-17 from World War II. It was named I'll Be Around in memory of an actual 390th I'll Be Around that was shot down on June 4th, 1944, when it was on a bombing mission to France in preparation for D-Day. Unfortunately, all the crew members were killed, and the veterans who started the museum decided to honor those airmen in that crew and that airplane, and named this airplane I'll Be Around.
That's a real story.
Yeah, it's been where you see it in the 390th Memorial Museum since 1986. It was towed into the museum. The museum opened in 1987, early 1987.
That's a cool story. I first myself, I was a docent also, as I told you. I've gone in and I got to know Andy Anzanos and Dwayne Bennett. Dwayne was a great man. Andy was a great man, and I was privileged to get to know those gentlemen and become really good friends with them. It was a shame when I heard Ben died. It made me cry a little bit, but I wrote a article. If you look on our website, we have an article that I wrote about Ben and the Squawking Chicken.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he told me the story of the toilet stool ace, and I thought that was funny. So like I said, that's a wonderful tribute. You know, that's why I love going into that to the 390th all the time, guys. If you haven't gone in there, you guys need to get a membership, because I tell you, it just gives you a sense of where we are and where we belong today. And I mean, I just get blown away every time I see it. So, next question. I'm gonna go personal here. Let's see. All right, Colonel, how did you get started in aviation?
I got the flying bug when I was 8 years old. I grew up in the South, and my dad took me and my brother in 1957, I think, to see a movie, terrible movie, but to see a movie called The Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
The Hunters was around about Korean War fighter pilots. It had a great cast: Robert Mitchum, Robert Wagner, Richard Egan, and it was about the first jet pilots in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
I remember walking out of that movie theater thinking, you know, I sure would like to be one of those guys. So kind of always kept that in the back of my mind. And when I graduated from college in 1970, I looked around and I needed a job. So I went down to the Air Force recruiter and said, "What you got?" And he said, "Oh, take these tests and we'll make you a pilot." So I thought, oh, yeah, right. But it all worked out. I did fairly well on the tests. I went to pilot training. I did well in pilot training. And my first assignment out of pilot training was in fighters. And I got the fighter bug after that, and I stayed in the fighter business for my entire career. I had a 32-year Air Force career.
32 years. Wow, that's a long time. What was your first fighter?
First fighter was the Air Force A7.
Corsair.
The Corsair 2, yes. And back then they were brand new. As a matter of fact, I picked up a brand new one as a second lieutenant from the factory. And to be honest with you, it smelled like a new car.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Smelled just like a new car. So
wow.
That was one of the cool things that I did. And I had a great career. I did everything I could to continue to fly because I liked it. I like flying. I got bit by the bug. I had originally thought that I was going to be just a short career person, serve out my commitment,
Right.
get out, go to the airlines, have wheelbarrows full of money, lots of time off, all that stuff. But somewhere along the line, I really started to enjoy it. And that was one of the things the recruiter forgot to mention, is that I just might like it. And I sure did.
Now, when you met my dad, you were the training safety officer for the 162nd. Is that right?
That's correct. I was the chief of safety for the 162nd for 6 years.
You had a pretty big position there, more or less.
The 162nd was the largest flying group, flying unit in the Air National Guard. We had twice as many airplanes as everybody else, and we flew twice as much as everyone else.
Right.
In the Air National Guard. And it was a busy job, and it was a very rewarding job.
Okay. All right. Next question I have for you is, what's the most important thing when flying?
Situation awareness. Always know where you are.
I have to tell my friend Mark about that. Well, he has to tell me about that all the time when we're flying online games. But all right. So situational awareness.
It's the truth. Everything else pales if you lose SA. So always maintain situational awareness.
I got you. I got some of these questions from people that knew I was going to do this interview with you. So, and okay, what's it like going over Mach 1?
As you get into the transonic region and you start to go past the Mach, the airplane shakes, rattles, and rolls a little bit. But once you get past 1.0, the airplane smooths out, and it's just like normal flying.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I mean, the world goes by fast, but on every maintenance test flight, at least in the F-16, we had to go, and the goal was to go to 2.05 Mach, because that was the red line of the airplane. Wanted to make sure that the airplane got there. And so you would go twice the speed of sound. And as I say, the world goes by fast.
I can imagine. I have a personal question. What's the maximum Mach? What's the maximum G that you actually have experienced?
Maximum G load on the airplane?
Yeah.
9 Gs.
9 Gs. I bet you that's hard.
Well, here again, the maintenance test flight profile includes a 9G turn. You were required on every maintenance test flight to pull 9 Gs. And the reason you did that is because the aircraft had a limiter in the flight controls where it wouldn't let you go above 9 Gs.
Wow.
So they wanted to make sure that the airplane got to 9 Gs, and as you continue to turn, it stayed there and didn't exceed 9 Gs and over G the airplane.
Excellent. Okay, my second to last question for right now. I'm probably going to elaborate on these last two questions. The last one is very important, and this one here is kind of important. Now, can you let us know what a couple times or a time or two that you've been in an emergency while flying?
Well, anytime you fly as much as I did, you're going to have aircraft emergencies. I never had a really serious emergency except one. And I can't even remember when it was, 1996 or sometime around there. I had a bird strike, and a fairly large bird went down the intake, and it damaged the engine severely. I managed to get within the right distance of a emergency landing field, and I had the landing made, and the engine quit, and I just continued to fly the approach and land the airplane. But that was the most serious emergency I ever had.
Bird strikes usually are.
Lots of other kinds of things like generator failure and stuff like that.
Those are easy. Well, not easy. Every emergency is.
They're easier, Dan.
What's that?
They're easier.
They're easier. Yes. Yes. Okay. Most important question I want to pose to you. This is the last question. You can elaborate however you like. Now, what advice or recommendation would you give children or teenagers wanting to get into aviation?
We get young people coming into the museum all the time, and they invariably ask the question. They find out you're a pilot, and they say, "Oh, what do I get to do to be a pilot?" I tell them the exact same answer all the time, and that is stay in school and study hard. Learn everything you can. You don't necessarily have to be an aeronautical engineer to go to pilot training. I didn't. I was a political science major. I had a guy who was a music major in my class, and he did very well. The Air Force teaches you, the military teaches you what they want you to know. They don't necessarily want you to be an aeronautical engineer. They want you to be smart. They want you to have excellent hand-eye coordination. And they want you to have a certain type of personality where most pilots I know tend to be a take charge kind of people. They have that personality. But if you don't study, if you don't stay in school, you're not going to succeed. You have to learn how to study, and you have to learn how to apply yourself. So that's what I tell kids who say, well, what do I have to do to be a pilot? Stay in school. Yep. Stay in school and learn.
Yeah, see, as you know, have known my family for quite a while. That's the advice that you gave to me, is to stay in school and to keep
Absolutely.
going. I became an electronics and computer engineer. So
yeah, and I've never wavered from that, and I won't waver from that, because it's the truth.
Right.
You know, that is truly the thing that's so important. And some people have the smarts, but they don't have the hand-eye coordination. Some people have the hand-eye coordination, but they don't have the smarts. Right. But the people that have the mental capacity and the hand-eye coordination are the kinds of pilots that the military especially looks for.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, that's very, very awesome. I mean, the children who are watching this are going to say, you know, hey, you're talking to a real pilot. You know, you're talking to someone who's been 32 years in the business of flying, and it's just awesome the way the kind of advice someone that has been there and has done that to actually, you know, say, hey, it's not that hard. Just stay in school, do what you got to do, and just keep working hard. That's about it, you know.
Yeah.
So
you don't necessarily have to study aeronautics. You don't have to study physics. You don't have to study calculus. You don't have to do all of that kind of stuff. That's for the guys that are the engineers, that are the people that design them and build them.
Right.
The guys that fly them are different. The guys that fly them need to be thinkers, and they need to have good hand-eye coordination.
And tough people too. Hey, look at you, Colonel. Look at you, Colonel. You're a tough person too.
Well, thank you.
Tough person, but you know, guys, this gentleman was our family friend. Still our family friend. You know, hopefully after this he doesn't kill me. But
don't worry, it won't be painful if I decide.
Well, you know, like I said, Alex and I have been, you know, since my father's passing, we've been really focusing on different aspects of, you know, of the relationship from my dad till now. So, you know, I thank you very much for being part of our family. Honestly,
you're welcome,
Colonel.
You're welcome. Really do. It's been a privilege.
Yep. So, okay. Anything you would like to add to tell everybody?
Well, you briefly touched on 390th membership, and I'd like to just elaborate a little bit on that.
Go right ahead.
We have a membership program that I think is a very good one. At the 390th, you can become a member of the museum. It doesn't cost you very much money. It costs you $40 a year. And for that $40, you get a quarterly magazine, you get notification of special events, You also, as the card holder, the museum member, our museum member, you get into Pima Air and Space for free, and unlimited admission to Pima Air and Space, and you get an unlimited admission to the Titan Missile Museum. So there are some benefits to joining our museum. If you go to our website, 390th.org, 390th.org, there's a spot up on the right-hand corner. There's a menu bar, I guess is a computer term for it. There's a menu bar in the upper right-hand corner, and click on the link that says join. And you can join online. And I think membership in our museum is well worth the $40 a year. We encourage people to join. The Square J Bulletin, which is our quarterly magazine, is an excellent publication. And you not only get to read it, but as I say, you get notification of special events, like we have our reunion coming up, notification of special events, and also you do, as the card holder, get into Pima Air and Space for free. That means you can come over to our place, and you get into the Titan Missile Museum for free. So I would encourage people to do that. It's the best deal in town, best entertainment value in town.
Absolutely.
And as you can see behind you, the museum that you see behind you is an excellent museum.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of history in that museum. It talks a lot about the history of the 390th Bomb Group.
Can you still hear me, Colonel?
I can.
Okay, good. My USB portion of my headset died, so I had to plug myself in. Yeah, like I said, I'm a member of the Pima Air Museum. I'm going to probably be switching over to the 390th Memorial Museum. Unfortunately, my payment didn't go through apparently, so because I checked with my bank.
Yeah, Lori, my admin or my data manager said to check with your bank on that.
Yeah.
And see. Okay, for whatever reason it didn't go through.
Right.
But I would fill it out again and see if it goes through, or if you continue to have a problem, get a hold of your bank and figure it out.
Definitely. All right, guys. It's about we got 12 more minutes. Colonel, do you want to talk about anything else? What's your favorite portion of the Pima Air and Space Museum, or anything like that?
That's an easy one. My favorite portion of the Pima Air and Space Museum, and we're not part of it, but is the 390th Memorial Museum, of course. It's really a treat. I get to go to work every day and hang around a beautiful old airplane. The Air Force lets us take care of it for them. We have the F-16 maintenance guys from the Air National Guard unit, the 162nd Fighter Wing, come over, volunteer their time and come over on a quarterly basis, and they clean off the airplane. We have evaporative cooling in our building, so it gets dusty. And so they come over and climb all over the airplane and dust it off for us. They polish the plexiglass, and they make it look really nice. We really appreciate the volunteers taking their time to do that. Without that, you'd have to have an old guy like me climbing all over the wings, and I don't want to do that. But these young men and women come over and they help keep the airplane looking really, really nice. They also clean. We have a Jeep that we own. Daisy is the Jeep's name.
Daisy.
It's a World War II Jeep, the very unstable, high center of gravity kind. And we have great exhibits. As I say, we tell the story of the 390th, and that story is very, very important.
See, the way, guys, just so you know, the way that they have the museum laid out is so, it shows the tribute. I got the pleasure of talking to Nick Veronico about the little tail.
The tail turret.
Yeah, tail turret. Nick and I become friends on Facebook, and
Mhm.
He's writing a book about the boneyard, et cetera, et cetera. So um, the way Nick comes off to me is a very, very nice gentleman, and I tell you, I've had some good conversations with him, and he says, "Yeah, did you see my exhibit over there?" I said, "Yeah, it looks awesome."
It really does. The restoration of the tail turret is one of the highlights of our museum. Nick is so gracious to lend it to us.
Mhm.
He brought it down, and we display it for him. We protect it, we keep it, and it allows people to look inside of a Cheyenne tail turret section
Right.
and see just what the tail gunner had to do in order to do his job. He wound up kneeling the whole time, sitting on a bicycle style seat. But he was kneeling, and he had to look around and find all of the German airplanes that were attacking them from the rear.
Mhm.
And it was a very cramped and crowded environment. The entire B-17 was very inhospitable. It was cold. They're very close quarters. There's not a lot of room inside that thing. It's unpressurized. It's not heated. It got down to 20 below inside the airplane.
Right.
And that's really, really uncomfortable. And to get from the front to the back or to get around inside the airplane was a difficult thing to do.
Mhm.
They were all young, 18 to 22, 24 years old was really the age gap. The 22 and the 24-year-old young men were considered the old men, and the 17, 18, 19-year-old young men were considered the kids.
Exactly. Exactly. The thing that amazes me is I was looking at the ball turret last time that I was there with you,
Mhm.
and I said nobody but my size could get in there.
Well, generally speaking, people were smaller and shorter back then, as a general rule.
Mhm.
The ball turret, if my memory serves me correctly, was the only position on the airplane that had an official height restriction to it. In order to be certified as a ball turret gunner, you couldn't be more than 5'6".
Wow.
And that's so you could fit in the damn thing.
Right.
It was difficult to get in, difficult to get out, very uncomfortable. And oh, by the way, you had to sit in it for hours on end. And another, oh, by the way, people were shooting at you.
Wow.
So just kind of put all of that in perspective, and you get kind of an understanding of what they all went through.
Right. Okay. So the way this is going to work out is I will be putting this on our YouTube, and I will be advertising for the museum as well.
Oh, thank you.
If you guys are on our website, PimaAirAndSpaceFans.com, just click on YouTube. You'll be able to see this Zoom meeting. I'm going to post this on our Facebook page as well. I also am going to be putting a link to the 390 Memorial Museum there. Colonel Wright is very gracious for you to take your time and help and do this interview with me. And so all of my people, all the people on the Facebook and
Well,
across the world.
well, Dan, I really appreciate your inviting me. Thank you very much. Does anyone out there have any questions? I'll be happy to answer.
I don't have anybody. I think we're alone today, but we're live.
Okay.
If they have any questions for me to ask
Just
you,
send them to me by email. You have my email
I
address,
do.
so
I
send them
do.
to me by email.
I do. Guys, if you want to meet Colonel Wright, please don't overwhelm him at work. But
Come on out to the
come
museum.
out to the museum, take a look at it. It's got a lot of history there. There's so much going on. I understand you guys had a little incident with water today or yesterday, as far as the jackets go. Is that right?
Well, it's not the jackets. It was a series of displays on the south wall that we had to take the artifacts out of because we did have a leak. So the roof people were out there today,
Mhm.
and keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully they fixed the leak.
Well,
But-
like I said, that's one of the reasons why people can donate, people can do whatever they need to help the 390s. I mean,
Yes.
um,
Don't forget, we're a nonprofit.
Mhm.
Okay, we're a nonprofit, and we depend upon the generosity and the kindness of people like yourself to do the things that we do. So thank you all very much in advance.
Thank you very much, Colonel, for doing this interview. Like I said, I can't thank you enough. I mean, I'm wondering if you were going to actually show up or not, because I'm like, should I call him? I was trying to call you on your phone, so I was getting a little bit nervous whether or not you would show up or not.
And then all of a sudden, I showed up on your
There you
face
go.
on your Zoom.
That's right.
Anyway, Dan, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us. And thank you very much to Colonel Alex Wright.
Take care.
Have a great day.